What's up, beautiful people? You're in the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. It is Friday, July 23rd. Happy album release day. I'm pretty pumped for this one because we get to kick it off with Jackson Browne and his brand new record, Downhill from Everywhere. This is his 15th studio album. It's his follow-up to 2014's Standing in the Breach. And Jackson, easily one of the best songwriters of the last 50 years. There's very few people in this industry, in my opinion anyway, that combine solid lyrical hooks with incredible melodies as consistent and as well as Jackson does. And that 50 years, you can take it back to the very beginning of his career, 4 years before that, in 1967. He was 16 years old when he penned the song These Days. That was featured on Nico's debut record, Chelsea Girl. That song's been covered a ton over the years by Jackson himself as well, and also featured in the movie The Royal Tenenbaums, as many of you probably know and love. I absolutely love that movie. But Jackson does his own thing for about 5 years, penning songs for other artists. This period culminates with the collaboration with Glenn Frey on the song Take It Easy, which was a massive hit for the Eagles, as we all know. And then Jackson does his thing and releases his debut self-titled album in '72. Feels like it's been all uphill from there, minus the '80s, depending on your political leanings. And frankly, you could be on either side of the spectrum. Jackson got to one of those points in the '80s where he just became preachy and condescending. That's why I don't like the new Van Morrison record. I agree with your message. I like a lot of the music, Van. You just sound like a condescending dick over the course of 2+ hours on that album, and I just don't want to listen to that. The same way I don't want to listen to Jackson Browne's records in the 80s. It's kind of obnoxious. It's off-putting. Thankfully, he mellowed out. He's gotten back to what made his songwriting so good. His songwriting has always been very personal. It's always been, he's always incorporated his personal and political beliefs into his music. He's always been known as being very liberal, but the stuff that he talks about, it's pretty much all humanitarian and environmentalist stuff. I feel like it's stuff that we can all get on board with. And, he creates these character studies when he's at his best. And, the majority of his career, these character studies, this folk tradition of, placing these characters in real life scenarios where, we get outside of this just good versus evil thing. Life is complicated. It's not about just absolutes like we all like to deal with today. People are forced to navigate through society that is doing anything and everything to rip apart at your integrity. And it can be very difficult to maintain that, especially when you start talking about providing for your family. I mean, there's an infinite number of factors that can complicate doing what we know is good. And so what I love about Jackson is exploring this idea, the difficulties of the human experience, the ways that we are torn in multiple different directions depending on what the scenario in life presents us. That's what makes Jackson such an incredible songwriter, is his ability to, paint this picture for his listener and to allow them to observe objectively and, make up their own mind and have their own feelings about, what is going on in a particular situation. Still Looking for Something is what kicks this album off. Great hook, great acoustic riff. Love the way this thing is driven. I love the final lyric on this track. It's, if all I find is freedom, it's all right. Really speaking to just that perspective that Jackson, I feel like he's always had. He's 72 years old now, but I feel like this is the type of lyric that he could have written at 22, and it would have been just as believable, just as sincere. He's always been, when he was young especially, he was thought by many to be very precocious. His talent was immediate, right at 16, as we talked about the song These Days, an incredible track. And so Still Looking for Something, I like this sentiment to the song that, even at 72, it's, you wake up every day still driving and still finding purpose. It's not about resting on your laurels. It's not about, I've done and completed this. It's like, hey, every new day is a new journey, and still looking for something. It's not. I don't think there's a negative connotation to that statement. I think it's something that's very positive, and I love that. Mike Cleveland, cowbell in the opener. It's got this groovy country rock feel. I absolutely love the track. Minutes to Downtown kind of backs up the pace. It's got this dark instrumentation and melody to it that it works. It's a little different from most of the record, but it's a nice feel. It's something a little different to give this record a little more character. And I'm loving the way that it moves from the second track to the fourth track, A Human Touch, which is a piano-driven duet that features Leslie Mendelson. Wonderful song, wonderful vocal harmonies between the two of them on that track. Absolutely love it. Downhill from Everywhere could go down as a Jackson Browne classic. This thing is just groovy, rocking. It's just great lyrics, great message. Really, I'm just loving everything about this song, and I think that most of you Jackson Browne fans out there are going to find this song to be up there as far as some of the better things that he's done throughout his career. The Dreamer, this is a fine example of just that character study of, a complicated issue. People moving across the southern border to find better opportunities in our country. There's so much that is going on with this situation that makes it so complicated. And as opposed to just being on this side and yelling rabble, 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 Jackson paints a portrait of a family, of a young woman who's crossing the border to meet her father, who came across to provide for his family, send money back. It's a very real scenario. It's very touching. It's very human. It's the type of nuanced character study that addresses, how much, delicacy this conversation requires. It is immensely complicated, especially after decades of just crummy foreign policy and dealing with these issues. And yeah, it's I'm loving Jackson for addressing these issues, but again, not being preachy in the process, just delivering a good story that delivers the realism of what this situation is. The next song, Until Justice Is Real, kind of gets into that cheesy territory a little bit. I would argue it's the only weak moment on this record, but the rest of it, rockin' and groovy. That song, The Dreamer, and the last track, A Song for Barcelona, have this great flamenco Spanish guitar element built into it. The Dreamer, half of it's sung in Spanish. There's some Spanish sung on A Song for Barcelona as well. I live in Tucson, Arizona. You all know that I love the Spanish language in song. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Kudos to Jackson for making that a part of this project. This is a vinyl please. This record is a lot of fun. It is a great addition to what is an incredible catalog from one of the more incredible musicians of the last 50 years. Jackson Browne, it's exciting as hell to have you back. Vinyl please me. Vinyl please me all day on this bad boy. I hope you enjoy listening to this record and that you find this review helpful. Please like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, check out the live show and when it returns on September 12th, and we will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.